There's still hope for you. You call it mama. Don't kill yourself.
Kuhlulile benkosi kuhlulile nebengwazi njengoba sengishito ke sengiso sikhathi people and places njengoba ngolesine ke lamhla abangwane sekunjalo nebenkosi lenhle lapha ngethemba senguyele sine wokugcina lapha lo mile sine silo semhlaba ingonyama master bese sinaye lapha 49 ngako ke ichannel Swazi bangwane vele isifisela silo semhlaba ingonyama eminyakana ngamashumi lamane nemfica. Happy 49th birthday, Your Majesty. Nebenkosi lenhle ke lokukhulu nje kakhulu lapha lokusitokuteka lamhla lapha sitokuteka lapha indzaba yesango. Nasitokuteka indzaba yesango lapha ngike ngasho ngaphambilini lapha ngike ngahamba ngaya eHolland. Ngasina ngifika eHolland sabona ukuthi bathu ukwabhala nje Swazi. Saba ne-interest ke nathi so Swazi lo Swazi kwente njani singathi ke nathi singophela sitolo kuvuliwe kuyathengiswa. Nasifika laphana kwase siyangena bajabule bafe abantu sibona bafuna nokusinika ematiya ngimangazi hawo basinikela lamatiya kanzi kuthiwa lensango yakangwane inhle kakhulu bekunene bebacanza silethe yona kanti sesijajiswa nje sisibona igama leSwaziland le ngesheya emaveni lokusho sikene benkosi lenhle insango elavenda kangwane kuyabonakala ukuthi isembili kakhulu lokho ke nebenkosi lenhle sekuhambe kwahamba kwefika esigabeni sekuthi emavela amanyenti sekahambe abona indlela ukuthi insango ingetulu kwegolide ingetulu kweoil ingetulu njeke nekwashukela lesinaye lapha emhlabeni la kangwane ke nebenkosi lenhle lokusho ukuthi ke sisembili kakhulu sesingaba yiIraq nje nebekunene noma singaba iSaudi Arabia yalamhlabeni wonke jikelele uma singakwendeka siyilime lesango ibe lapha kithi kepha ke unenkinga yemithetho umthetho awuvumi ke nebenkosi lenhle lapha ngathlangathe ehlukehlukene kunendzawo lapha ivumeleka khona kunendzawo lapha ingavumeleki khona kepha ke bangwane ngete ngayikhuluma mnenzaba lena kakhulu njengoba bengishito ngaphambilini lapha ukuthi isidawo esiyiteke nebekunene lapha sinaye lapha umnumzana Deon Wood longena tayikhulumisa kabantu lenzaba lena achaze kaba namna ngumbuta lokuncane nebenkosi lenhle lengakuva kahle ngayo lesango ukuthi ihamba kanjani. A very good evening to you viewers and welcome to People and Places. Well, tonight we shall be talking about dacha or cannabis. Actually, I'll have to get the true name of the weed because some people call it weed because maybe we'll have to start with the jargon. What is it actually? How should I call it? Because some call it ganja, some call it cannabis, some call it weed, some call it whatever. He said, but you'll be able to help me. But in the meantime, just greet the viewers and welcome to Channel Swazi.
Siyabonga. Before I get started, of course, I'm Deon Wood. For those who don't know, I have been heading the unofficial cannabis awareness and law reform campaign for Swaziland over the last 15 months. I've done extensive research internationally and in Swaziland with local people. I've met hundreds of people traveling around the country for more than 12 months, quite spontaneously, quite casually. I've dialogued with everybody on every sector, from farmers to dealers to teachers, pastors, judges, lawyers, king's advisors, sorry. And with each one I've had a dialogue. I've gotten a lot of feedback of Swaziland and where Swaziland is in regards to Swazi gold, or Dacha, we're going to say for now. But before I get started, I would like to please, with honorable dedication and sincere love, like to wish His Majesty the King, Mswati III, a very, very happy birthday, and I wish you have many, many more to come. I would also like to extend a sincere congratulations to Mr. Mamba. I think your operation, Channel S, is exceptional. I think it's a dynamic operation with dynamic individuals, and I think you are a true inspiration to African media.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Woods. Yes, welcome to Channel Swazi indeed. Now,
the jargon.
Let's start with the jargon.
The jargon. The scientific name, or the botanical name for Dacha, is in fact cannabis. And then we also have industrial cannabis, which we call hemp. And the reason why we have different names for it, of course, is different cultures and different nations have given it different names. Spanish culture has termed it marijuana. America, a lot is weed. Africa, we've called it daga, and dacha. And there's various other names as well. Weed is a very slang street name for it. Ganja is a very African street name for it. But the name, and we're going to be referring to it from now on, which is a universal name, is cannabis. Cannabis sativa. There is a more intricate scientific name for it, but that is basically what we call it.
All right, fine. Now, there's been talk about it. I know it's very illegal in the Kingdom of Swaziland. And I'm sure some 10 years ago, or even slightly back, in the same program, I was with Dr. Ben Dlamini. He spoke about it. We conducted interviews with him. He was talking about it, but no one listened.
Exactly.
But suddenly there's been so much change in South Africa and elsewhere, and in so many countries. And lately, we've heard that there's been change within our own parliament in the Kingdom of Swaziland. And now you have visited us here on Channel Swazi. First, tell me exactly what prompted you to come to Channel Swazi and talk about this, and why all this hullabaloo suddenly about cannabis in the Kingdom of Swaziland and the rest of the world.
Okay, if I can start first of all with the Honourable Dr. Ben Dlamini, is that if Swaziland had listened to Dr. Ben Dlamini 10 years ago, Swaziland would by guarantee be hundreds of billions of rands or emalini richer than what it is right now. It was foolish. They gave him complete disregard. They swept all his information and his intentions, his sincere and very highly educated intentions. They swept it away and you ignored it, and the loss that Swaziland has suffered is in fact a crime against humanity. And it has been disastrous for the country's economy and its industrial and agricultural development. However, fortunately, we've made great strides. There's many people in South Africa and in Swaziland who have pushed very, very hard to get the functional and correct information out there, to override the propaganda, which is a clear, deliberate propaganda attack from America on the cannabis industry worldwide, which was 60 years ago instigated because they needed to suppress cannabis industry development because it is such a magnificent, transformational and revolutionary product. And it has so much potential that it will cripple many other mega industries: the plastic industry, the paper industry, the fuel industry, the car building industry, the housing industry, textile industry. All these industries are going to either have to change to dacha, hemp, which grows less, has more profit, it's more biodegradable, it's more eco-friendly. So dagga represents a revolution in terms of agriculture and industrial and economical development. So this propaganda, which leads us now also, which most people believe in Swaziland and most places, is that cannabis is, there's about 5 points that everybody's most concerned about. That dagga is satanic, that dagga makes you mad, that if it were to be legalized, that it would drop in its value, that dagga causes crime, and crime we should be fighting. These are all complete perspectives that came directly from American propaganda more than 60 years ago. America made specific movies and deliberately corrupted...
Excuse me, just to interrupt you a bit. What are the 5 points again?
Cannabis makes you mad.
Mad, yes. 1.
Cannabis is a crime, and we should fight crime.
Yes.
Cannabis is satanic.
Yes.
Did I get them all?
Yes. The number 4? It
is satanic. Cannabis is satanic.
You've mentioned satanic, okay. And then also you said something about...
it causes crime?
Yes, you said it makes you mad, crime, satanic, and then what else?
And that it's a crime and we should fight crime.
You've only just mentioned 3, but there's this other one about losing value or something?
Sorry, yes. Most Swazis, the biggest fear, in fact, in Swaziland is that their current magnificent underground dagga industry would lose its value and the price of dagga would go down if it were to be legalized, which is completely erroneous.
Okay. Yes, so there's actually 4 points that you've mentioned. Okay, continue.
Okay. Now, there is major transformational happenings right now in the rest of the world. America, half the states have legalized. Canada's on the brink of legalization. Germany, Israel's been legalized for many, many years in cannabis medical research. And most countries, Uruguay was the first country to fully legalize. When we say fully legalized, we're referring to the 3 primary cannabis industries, which is the medical cannabis. The second one is industrial cannabis, which is hemp. And the third industry is recreational cannabis. So Uruguay was the first country to legalize all 3, an unprecedented move, and we are hoping that all countries are going to follow suit. Now, at this stage, South Africa, as many of you might know, in November, the bill was passed through Parliament to legalize medical cannabis, which was fantastic for our country. They are currently, the MCC in South Africa, which is the Medical Control Council, is currently drawing up a regulatory module for cannabis legalization for medical use. It's going to be stringent. It's going to be most likely only for scientists and medical staff and medical institutions. But then also, fortunately, Mr. Garth, I would say our most honorable Mr. Garth Prince, who was an attorney in South Africa, who, for those of you who don't know, has been fighting for legalization of cannabis for more than 15 years. He was, in fact, disbarred or not even allowed to go through his bar examinations because he was incriminated for cannabis. And he is a Rastafarian, and he's been fighting it ever since, and he has done a tremendous job. And finally, on the 1st of March, he, along with the dagga couple, who is the organization for cannabis law reform in South Africa, and many others, great activists, made a revolutionary transformation when they challenged the law of South Africa, and they won. So today we have medical cannabis legalized in South Africa, and we have recreational cannabis. And in recreational cannabis we mean by personal use, and that you can grow a few plants at home. We are now just waiting. The courts have now handed over to Parliament in South Africa, and we have got up to 2 years to set up a regulatory system for recreational cannabis, and we're expecting medical cannabis to be regulated within a month or 2 from the MCC. Now, fantastically so, Swaziland, I've met with many, many people, and fortunately I've gotten the right information to the most influential people, and they've responded very enthusiastically. They can see the intelligence in it, they can see the common sense in it, and they themselves have taken on the responsibility to inform themselves more, to do their own research, and of course to discuss with others. And I think what we've achieved now is that at least a good number of parliamentary members have now considered, they've done some research, they can see the information, the overwhelming scientific evidence, the overwhelming legal results all over the world, and it is just now pure common sense that we at least take the responsibility to reform our perspectives and reform our laws. So what the government has done now, the Parliament, has, with the great influence from Member of Parliament Hans Stefan,
yes.
Forgive me, I'm just running with names right now.
Yes.
He has done a fantastic move, very bold, so courageous, very impressive, where he stood up in Parliament. Most people have been very afraid in Swaziland to even mention the word dacha. And so when he came out and he put all his stuff on the table and he really just said in everybody's face, people, we have got to approach this maturely and intelligently. We have got to examine this and then make an intelligent decision accordingly. And fortunately, Parliament listened to him, and they've now allocated a committee of apparently 5 members of Parliament who are now the Cannabis Research Committee, and they have got 8 weeks to come up with the facts and the truths on cannabis. And we are almost certain that when they do present these truths and facts to Parliament, which they certainly will do, that this will most certainly transform the perspectives of Swaziland and inevitably, in time, will reform the laws in terms of cannabis legalization in Swaziland. This will give rise to even a greater benefit, because when Swaziland, if Swaziland should fully legalize all 3 industries, the medical benefits, the social development benefits, the industrial benefits, and most magnificently the economical benefits are uncharted and infinite capabilities. Global economists all over the world right now are shocked at the sheer potential of the economical value of cannabis. Cannabis is right now, medical use is stepping into the #1 place for the treatment and cure for cancer. According to evidence and facts of researchers economically, cannabis, the cure for cancer represents a figure of something like 50 trillion US dollars globally. That is what the value for the cure of cancer is. Cannabis has now just stepped into that place. Cannabis will replace the plastic industry, and that is an estimate of 450 billion US dollars globally. Then we're talking the paper industry, we're talking the textile industry, we're talking epilepsy, we're talking many other ailments. There's more than 700 ailments that cannabis treats. It produces more than 50,000 industrial products through industrial hemp. And of course, recreationally, in terms of tourism, in terms of the necessity for people to want to enjoy a recreational stimulant. We all enjoy a drink. Why? Because we want and we have the right to enjoy a stimulant. For our recreation, for our enjoyment, for our relaxation, for our social gluing and blending together. We've always done this throughout time. It's a part of our nature. It's a part of our culture. And cannabis represents, if I may add, one of the most healthiest and effective recreational stimulants, far healthier than alcohol, smoking, coffee, chocolate, sugar. In fact, it is absolutely absurd that it's criminal, and smoking is not, alcohol is not, sugar is not, chocolate is not. These things kill people by the millions. Cannabis has never ever killed a person in the world, ever. There is not one single recorded case of cannabis killing anybody. Then, on the same vein, there are some serious concerns that Swazis have, along with what we're mentioning, is that cannabis can make you mad. Now, this is absolutely not scientifically founded at all. There is no conclusive evidence anywhere in the world that proves cannabis makes you mad. In fact, most psychosis cannot be proven scientifically. Most psychosis is just a man saying you've got this and this and this, and so you have got that. There really is no way to prove mental illness. However, researchers have come the closest to it, where they have suggested, not concluded, but they have suggested that cannabis can induce psychosis. So if you are schizophrenic already, if you do have certain psychological disorders already, if you have even slight dispositions of personality, cannabis will enhance that. Like the Rastafarians and many spiritual and botanists have said, that cannabis reveals you to yourself. And this is so true, and because cannabis is a healer, And what it does is that it heals you. And the first state of healing is that it must come to the surface. We must be aware of it. In order to heal something, I must know that something is wrong or ill or rotten or dysfunctional. And when I'm aware of it, and cannabis does this brilliantly well. So cannabis can bring up your illness. You can look at it. It can maybe be treated. And then it can be very effective and very healthy and very functional for us. But if somebody smokes 15 joints a day or smokes bongs all day long, yeah, it's going to affect them negatively. Like if you smoke too much all day long, if you drink too much all day long, if you eat too much fruit all day long, eat bananas for a week and see what that does to you. We have to learn to use nature respectfully. We cannot criminalize nature, and we've also got to get to a position as human beings where we've got to stop blaming the material or the physical world for our wrongs. Cannabis is not wrong. Cannabis is not a crime. If we just abuse cannabis, if we're disrespectful to it, then we are wrong. Now, why does somebody abuse cannabis? And this falls into another concern, is that people are going to abuse it and they're going to go mad and we're going to have to build new psychiatric institutions, etc. People, this is more scary than the boogeyman. And it's as much of a scary story as the boogeyman. It's not true. It's not based on anything factual, and it's not based on reality at all. The truth is that if I use cannabis like all of nature that God created, if I use it with balance, with respect, with moderation, it can have enormous benefit to me, to my health, to my family, to my welfare, to my economics. It can be very beneficial. But if I don't use it respectfully, like if I abuse a human being, it can be extremely destructive. So we have to learn to stop saying dagga causes crime, dagga makes you mad, dagga, people will abuse dagga, dagga creates abuse, dagga creates crime. This is completely erroneous. The truth is that we abuse dagga. Why do I abuse dagga? Because I'm being abused, because I'm in an abusive environment. I'm poor, I've got no money, my family's starving. Gee, let me go sit under a tree and smoke some dagga. It's a relief for me. It helps me. It calms me down. Now, if I start to abuse, there should be what we call harm prevention programs. So the way they've dealt with the fact that people could abuse, yes, certainly we should have harm prevention programs, which is primarily based around education. People, you have to understand how cannabis works, how it can affect you, and how it can affect you negatively. So education right now is paramount to cannabis awareness and law reform. The truth and the reality is that cannabis is going to revolutionize the world. It's not going away. And this is what very intelligently was said by the Uruguay Prime Minister, was that drugs are not going away. We have to start learning to respond more intelligently to drugs, including, in this case, cannabis. We have to learn to be able to manufacture, produce, and use cannabis functionally, constructively, that it's to our advantage, like we did with fire, like we did with water, like we do with all other medication, etc. We have to be responsible. We can't criminalize alcohol because there's alcoholics or some people who abuse it. We have to address the problem is why do they abuse it? Let's address that issue. But let's stop blaming cannabis or alcohol or smoking or sugar, because that's not where the blame is. Did I answer all the questions?
Yes, okay, fine. Yeah. Well, maybe let's start from the beginning. You touched on a number of points. Makes you mad. Well, that's one of the assertions that people come up with. So you say there's no scientific proof.
Absolutely.
Yes. It's only just a question of abuse.
Absolutely.
And then you are saying that there's no crime that is caused by cannabis.
This is a very important point.
Yes.
And it has been several occasions by high officials being accused that cannabis causes crime. This is
Yes.
absolutely absurd, because anybody
Yes.
who has ever smoked cannabis knows that we have mostly what we call couch lock. You become lazy, you become lethargic, you become happy, you become friendly, you become loving, you become insightful, you become creative, but definitely you become quite lazy. Nobody smokes a joint and then starts to feel aggressive and violent. This is absolutely not true. There are exceptions with people who might be psychotic, but we're talking very rare exceptions.
Yes.
Cannabis does not cause crime. Alcohol,
Yes.
more than anything, is the cause of crime. On a Friday and a Saturday night, every police station in the world, their crime rate escalates at astronomical amounts. Why? because now people get a bit of money, they go get drunk, and then of course maybe they have other drugs, and this leads to chaos. Crime rates skyrockets primarily through alcohol, not cannabis. In fact, I can guarantee you, and any activist or scientist or any person who has enough information and experience with cannabis will tell you that it is the most ridiculous notion that cannabis causes crime. The only crime about cannabis is the crime in using it right now. True.
What crime is that?
That we can go to jail if we smoke it.
I see. And then also you are saying that it only affects those who are already schizophrenic.
Yes, so if somebody does have, even if I'm in a bad mood and I smoke, I tend to get more bad mood. If I'm very sad and I smoke, I can tend to get more sad. Because it has an amplifying quality about it. It does. It has a revealing quality. This is what's within you. This is how you are. Most certainly, yes.
All right.
But I would definitely not say, when we talk about psychosis, psychiatrists have actually, in the world, determined that 80% of the world in fact, have got an insane condition.
Okay. Now, let's talk about Deon Wood.
Okay.
What prompted you to be the speaker for, or rather to an activist?
Okay.
Maybe should I put it that way?
I generally do social development for Africa.
Okay.
For me, the development and the empowerment of Africa is paramount to everything that I do.
Okay.
And my entire aspiration. So what I do in African countries is that I go and I develop independent social development projects that are not obscured by corruption or bureaucracies. I do an independent project and I refine it according to the country's needs for social development.
Okay.
So what I did is that I traveled around the country, for more than 11 months. I traveled around the country, hiking around the country, the Milongo hitchhiker, some people have called me.
Yes.
And I've met all these wonderful people, had great dialogue. I've had the most wonderful friendships with the most special people. And what I did from this is I collected the information to see what would be the critical needs for social development for Swaziland.
Okay.
Several areas came up, but what came up as the number one most critical need was cannabis awareness and reform. Legalization of cannabis would be the most magnificent transformation for social development, agricultural development, industrial development, medical development, and economical development. Nothing can transform this country in every single sector than the legalization of cannabis.
All right, maybe, you see, the type of program that we're in is called People and Places.
Right.
We ask stinging questions sometimes.
Good, I want you to do that.
All right, fine. Do you smoke yourself?
I do. Occasionally. I've been smoking since I was 16 years old.
Cannabis, specifically.
Cannabis.
Yes, you do.
Cannabis.
Okay.
Specifically cannabis. Only cannabis. I don't drink. I don't take drugs. I'm very adverse to both. I've smoked very occasionally. In fact, I hardly ever even buy it. I mean, in Swaziland, everybody's always offering it to you. But I've never really even bought it. I would occasionally, if I'm at a party, have a few puffs. Sometimes on a Saturday, I'm like, today I'm going to have a stone day. So with great moderation, sometimes once a month, sometimes twice a month. I've never made a habit of it. I don't do it consistently. I don't enjoy being stoned all the time. I don't enjoy the laziness that it gives me. I do enjoy the benefits of being, it makes me incredibly creative, it makes me insightful, it makes me very sociable, it makes me happy, it makes me laugh. There's many benefits that I derive from it that so many others do as well. So very moderately, and I've never gotten addicted to it. I never feel the need for it. And I never even go and buy it for that very reason. I've actually found, and I've actually said this to some people who do abuse it, and they've asked me, how come we've ended up abusing and not you? And I've actually suggested to them, if you go and buy a box of cannabis, it is most likely that you will smoke repeatedly every day. Because it is nice, and it does have a lot of advantages. So don't. Smoke in moderation. Smoke it when you really want to. Smoke it when it's sociably, when it's productive. Don't smoke it to become unproductive, or when you're unproductive, smoke, because then you do make a habit of it. And when you talk about a point, if I may add to that, is the addiction factor. Mm-hmm. Cannabis is non-addictive. It is not an addictive substance, and this is now scientifically very much been found, that it is a non-addictive substance, unlike tobacco, alcohol, chocolate, sugar, coffee. Cannabis is non-addictive. However, you can develop a habitual form of it. You can abuse it, just do it because it's nice, and you do it every day, and you start having... What happens in the body is that cannabis, the tolerance for the body for cannabis builds up. And so what actually happens is that your body needs more and more to get a more and more of a high and to get those benefits. So if you continue to smoke more and more and more, you will smoke more and more and more. And this is why people end up smoking like 10 joints a day, because now their body needs 10 joints a day to have what they used to have from a few puffs, because the body so quickly builds up tolerance.
Okay, you've just said that you don't enjoy the laziness in it.
Yeah.
So in other words, you are saying you want to tell us, or the people of the Kingdom of Swaziland, that because you don't enjoy the laziness, you want everybody else to be lazy in Swaziland.
No.
What does that say to the people of the Kingdom of Swaziland? What does that say to the economy then?
Good, very good question.
Yes.
When I say dacha makes you lazy, cannabis makes you lazy, I mean, if I smoke really good quality, high grade Swazi Gold, I have a heady high, I buzz, I'm alive, I'm bouncy, I'm creative, I'm out there. At the end of the day, I have a bit of a downer. Now let me sit and relax, because it builds my energy so much. I'm so vibrant, I'm so exuberant, I have all this energy, and then it's very much like you do at the end of the day. You know, you had a good, productive day, you know, what do? You feel a little lethargic, you feel a little relaxed. So in high quality cannabis, that's what happens. If I smoke very poor quality, jat, what they call, seeds and twigs, very bad. Okay, that makes you very heavy. You just don't want to talk to anybody. So it has different effects, and on different people it has different effects. When I say lazy, I do not mean... I have got many friends who smoke, actually all day long. Okay. Bobby Greenhash is one of the most amazing activists and workers in South African cannabis. He's making medical oil, and he's doing an excellent job. He's on the forefront of medical cannabis South Africa. And this man smokes all the time, all day long. But he has got so much energy, he's got so much impact, that you can't say that he gets lazy and that it interferes with his work, you see? Okay, yes, I got you on that one, yes. I understand you very well. And you've touched on a number of points. Well, I took some of the 4 points that you mentioned earlier, although you had said 5. However, you says it makes you mad. People say, actually, that's what you said. People say it makes you mad. It promotes crime. It's satanic. And then can we deal with that one? I'm coming to that one. And then obviously you are coming to the issue of the economy. What is your area of specialization? Because now, if you're talking about madness, schizophrenic, you have to be a doctor, right? If you're talking about criminology, you have to have done some bit of law. Now, if you are talking satanic, now you should have done a bit of maybe a member of the clergy. Then also here, in terms of value, you should be an economist. Now, who is Deon Wood? Where do you fall within this continuum? Okay, first of all, something very important to understand. Yes. That a big part of my project, which is called Integrity, actually, for Swaziland, which is the primary project, which is self-education through internet to become self-sustaining and self-developing. Yes. Self-education can give you a very high qualification in all that we're talking about. I have, through extensive study, research, and experience, can speak very confidently on all these things. I don't need a law degree to speak on what is legally factual. I don't need a doctor's degree to speak on what I have scientifically observed in terms of scientific documentation and evidence and reports. I have done my homework, I've done my research. What I'm saying here today, I'm speaking with 100% integrity and confidence that these are truths and facts that I have uncovered through my research and through my experience and through my many relationships in the cannabis industry. I see. So it's all about integrity, right? Indeed. Well, now let's talk integrity on these factors right now. Good. Then let's talk about maybe the satanic part. Yeah. Where's the integrity on that one? Let's talk about the Bible. Very good question. Yes. And I think this is one of the most important points, because Swaziland, by the way, in my experience and in my research, is possibly the most innocent African country with the highest level of integrity.
Yes, okay.
This is what inspired my project here. When we talk about, if we say to the public, Dagga is satanic, what are we saying to our public? Our Christian public.
Yes.
We're saying that God created a satanic plant. Is that integrous?
Okay.
Does that have any integrity in it?
I hear
If
you.
we claim that Dagga is satanic, first of all, I'm claiming from a Christian point of view because it's Christians who believe in Satan or devil. There's many other, Buddhism doesn't believe in Satan and devil, for example. So we're talking Christian values. And so if I'm going to, on Christian values, say Dagga is satanic, what evidence do I have for that? Well, how can I prove that? Do I see somebody growing horns and a tail when they smoke Dagga? Do I see somebody growing evil when I smoke Dagga? Even if a high official, police official, in this case, has had all this experience with crime, how can he even conclude that any of them became criminal because they smoked Dagga? That is not integrous. If I say Dagga is satanic, it's not an integrous statement because, number one, I can't prove that. In fact, I can't prove Satan. I can't prove evil. What is evil? What is Satan? You know, if we have a whole military that we spend half our budget on, who all have weapons out there, who could in fact kill thousands of people, is that integrous? Is that satanic? Is Dagga satanic? What is more satanic? Our army, that on the press of a button or a command will go and kill the whole country if necessary? Or Dagga? Which is more satanic? So it's a matter of perspective. Propaganda can manipulate somebody's perspective. You understand?
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So, yes, you've touched on that one. We will come on to that one later. Actually, you said that it was started by American propaganda,
Right.
in order to stifle Africans.
Not Africans, definitely. The
Yes.
minority, yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Spanish and blacks in America.
And blacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because economically they were going to be much better than the rest of them. That's what you're saying.
No, not necessarily. They targeted these poor groups. These
Yes.
poor groups, that's where the crime comes from. That's where the crime is.
Okay.
They're the culprits. You know, and also, it was also what they used in this propaganda, which was most absurd,
Okay.
is that they actually started to twist it around and say, blacks have brought us this madness.
Yes.
Where did Dagga come from? The blacks are the ones that sell us this evil thing. They want to corrupt our white people because they want to rape our white women, because they want to make us mad so that they can take control. This is how they're going to beat us. This is what they actually suggested. Can you believe that? Today in America, I think it's something like 40% of cannabis prisoners are either, Spanish, Cuban, or African, blacks, African Americans. Why is that? It's shocking. Because they actually targeted these rates from the beginning. All the movies they made these great movies. Reefer Madness was one, very famous one, where they actually drew a picture for people, blacks, niggers are going to rape our women, they're making us mad, that's what they're doing, so don't use reefer because it's going to make you mad. Making you mad was the theme of the American propaganda campaign.
All right, now let's talk about the issue of the economy. How do you think the Kingdom of Swaziland can benefit economically?
Sure. Let me draw a picture for you.
Okay.
We start off, we have three primary industries that we spoke of. We have the medical industry, we have the industrial industry, and we have
Yes.
the recreational.
Yes.
The medical industry is going to be worth hundreds of billions of dollars as a cure for cancer. It is a very effective treatment for epilepsy, especially for children.
Yes.
It is Alzheimer's disease, bone fractures, painkiller, tranquilizer. There's more than 700 now scientifically proven treatments that cannabis can treat. Right?
Actually, you said 50,000.
50,000 industrial uses.
Oh, industrial. Okay, fine. Yes, okay.
Okay, so we're still in the medical, and it's 700 elements. It's going to replace possibly 40% of pharmaceuticals
Oh,
in a healthier way.
okay.
You know how many pharmaceuticals kill people, millions of people every year? Painkillers is the biggest killer in America. Can you believe it? Not guns, painkillers. Yeah. Anyway, so that's medical. Medical is worth hundreds of billions of dollars globally. Right now, Swazi gold, by the way, they don't realize, is that I would roughly estimate, you can't quote me, but I'd roughly estimate Swaziland underground Swazi gold industry right now is worth about 3 billion. Underground.
3 billion.
Yeah, it's a very rough estimate, but given all the statistics that I've come across, I would more or less say it's about 3 billion right now underground. It has got the most sophisticated underground logistics system in the world. It can get any amount of any quality to any in the world for any price. That's why Swazi gold is so famous. You see, that's why, and this is the great benefit of legalizing Swazi gold, because the whole world knows it already. We've already done a marketing campaign. If they had to legalize tomorrow, the whole world would rush to Swaziland, because Swaziland is the little golden leaf of cannabis for the world. Anyway, what was the point I was making?
Actually, we're talking in terms of the economy.
Right.
Yes.
So medical cannabis.
Yes.
We can safely guarantee that if we had to have 3 or 4 medical companies that came into Swaziland and said, listen here, we'll come in. Corporate investors say, listen here, we'll come in, we'll do a Simonier project for you. We'll do what sugarcane did for you. Bang. There you go. All we're going to do is we're going to employ everybody, we're going to employ professionals, people, and we're going to build a Simonier for you. Great. Good idea. This will also absorb the costs of the legalization, which will be a great idea. Now let's say 3 or 4 of them come in. You've already got at least 2 or 3 Simoniers just on the medical side. Then the industrial, hemp cannabis, 50,000 uses. The plastic industry, the paper industry, the fuel industry, the cotton industry. You can build cars, you can fuel the car with cannabis. It's going to replace the oil industry in the world. And it's also eco-friendly and biodegradable. It's a perfect health solution for our planet. It's the answer to so many of our problems. It's not only going to heal us physically, it's going to heal us mentally. It's going cognitively, we say. It's going to heal us industrially, and it's going to heal us economically. So, in industrial cannabis, industrial hemp, we think of, okay, this is one industry, hemp. It's not. It's at least $50 billion industries. Can you comprehend that? Yeah. If we can make plastic, paper, fuel, textiles, beauty products, makeup, I mean, how big is that market? If we can make all these products just from hemp, how much is that worth? You can't even calculate the value. Now, recreational cannabis. Cannabis recreationally is now becoming the #1 recreational stimulant in the world. Anybody who has done it, most people really do enjoy it. They prefer it to alcohol, they prefer it to smoking. It is a much better recreational stimulant. It's far cheaper. You don't have to drink all night. You don't go all berserk and crazy and violent and aggressive like you do with alcohol. You're not going to destroy your family, drive home drunk and kill somebody. It is a better solution than alcohol. If we could move alcohol off the planet and put cannabis in its place, we would be far better off. Do you know what the economical value of that is? Do you know what the economical value of the alcohol industry is? Brother, now let's say cannabis can even replace a quarter of it. What is that worth? Now you add all those 3 industries together, how much do you come to? It is phenomenal. The potential is unlimited. So when people say this is going to boost the economy of Swaziland, this is ridiculous. It's going to become the economy of Swaziland. It's going to put every other industry completely to shame. You can safely guarantee that cannabis is going to be 10 times bigger than RSSC sugarcane industry is, or ever has been to Swaziland. That's just a starting point of the potential.
All right, yes. You see, I do understand the medical part.
Okay.
And also I do understand the industrial part. It's the recreational part that I'm not very much sure of. I'm a bit wary about that one. But however, you did explain that you have to be kind of schizophrenic because there's no scientific proof that people get mad. That's what you said, right?
Right.
Maybe that's basically what I'll ask the viewers to talk about, because maybe some people actually have had some nasty experiences of people. Actually, personally I've seen some people I was with at school who have been smoking, and they ended up on the road, you know. Absolutely. But obviously, I think you answered that one by saying that maybe they abused it.
If I may, please.
Yes.
This is a very, very important point.
Yes.
This is Swaziland, and rightfully so. It is the biggest concern.
Yes.
I would truly be more clear on that, and I would certainly say that we need education to prevent, and we also need to treat what makes abuse happen. Why does the person abuse something? Let's go deal with that problem. Because I know that a functional, happy, healthy, growing human being that is doing well is less inclined to abuse anything, right?
Okay.
We have abusive natures as human beings. If we're abused, we tend to abuse. But anyway, if somebody ends up smoking because they're not doing anything else, because they're not inspired, they're not happy, so they end up smoking 10 joints a day. This is not good for you. It is not good for you. And we heartily discourage it. Do not start smoking all day long. You don't even need to have a joint anymore. You only need to have a few puffs. And that is adequate for everything you need to get out of it. If you've been treated for cancer, for example, then you need certain high dosages, which will be medically subscribed. But we can't say that it's not harmful. We cannot say no, it has to be scientifically proven that it makes you mad. I also have met mad people because they smoke too much all day long. And for many, many years. I mean, if you smoke high grade, in Swaziland, what they call that very high grade, what do they call it?
Skunkler.
Yeah. Apparently they say that blows your head off.
Yeah.
Now you smoke that stuff all day long, of course you're going to end up in an institution.
Yeah.
You understand? So I'm not saying that it does not make you mad per se. Just like if I said alcohol doesn't make you mad.
Okay.
Well, I'd be lying, wouldn't I?
Okay. All right, I think it's about time I'm sure we've addressed all the issues. It's a pity that, I think you've answered me on many of these questions because you are saying that it's all about integrity.
Right.
And also, you're not a specialist in any of these, but you've actually taught yourself.
Absolutely.
On all these.
And I'm referring and
yes.
I am quoting experts.
Experts,
in the field.
yeah.
Top people in
You've
the
done extensive research, I believe, on this. I do believe you. I do believe you on that. However, in terms of the economy, and now let's talk in terms of the economy because obviously that's our interest as a country.
Right.
Let's talk in terms of balance of payments for the Kingdom of Swaziland, in terms of exports, because there's one thing growing it, and then another having the darker products made in the Kingdom of Swaziland. How can that happen? Sure. Right. Or do you want us to keep on growing it for export, for somebody else to produce it and bring the medicines into Swaziland? Or how do you want this to happen?
Okay, if I can just shortcut that.
Yes.
And go back to I think it's the fifth point.
Yes.
That the value of cannabis will drop if it's legalized.
Yes,
This is also
yes.
a very important point.
Yes.
And the reality is this is totally not true and totally unfounded.
Yes.
If you look at the
Why do you say that?
If you go back to what I was just saying now about the economical value,
yes.
you can't lose. It can't lose its value. The demand for cannabis medically and industrially is impossible. The demand is so high. Right now in the world, it is 1,000 times bigger than the demand, the supply.
Okay.
So, first of all, right now, if we have a $3 billion underground cannabis industry, now if they legalized all three industries, we would have a $100 billion industry compared to a $3 billion industry. So how can it lose its value? But also if we say, but what if the prices drop? How can they drop? We can regulate it just like we regulate alcohol. A beer costs you 10 Rand. Wherever you go is 10 Rand. Now people can undercut you, but pretty much, we're not going to buy 10 Rand for beer, right? We can regulate the prices. Right now, Swazi farmers are so exploited. You go to South Africa and you see farmers growing vegetables there, and they are wealthy. They're the wealthiest in the industry. But you come to Swaziland and the cannabis farmers are the poorest. These guys can't even afford to buy food for their families. Why is this? Because the industry is so exploited. You have South Africans coming over the border. This guy, he's meant to charge 10,000 Rand for 1 kilogram of high grade. I don't have any money, so I'll give it to you for 2,000. There goes the price. From 10,000 a kilogram to 2,000 a kilogram. So they undermine themselves. And this is what drops the value.
Yeah.
But then when we're out of season, that changes. And then they can start getting more closer to 10,000. But then the South African guys are going, no, listen, I'm going to be a sustaining resource.
Apostolic Prophetic Word brings you his program, Total Freedom, with Apostle B. Kumalo.
Hallelujah. I tell you, the noise in this house is too much.
Well, welcome back, viewers. We are with Mrs. Deon Wood, and we're talking about cannabis in the Kingdom of Swaziland. We've addressed a number of issues, and unfortunately, we've had a bit of a power cut. Apparently, the whole part of Nkoyoyo is stuck at the moment. We're currently running on generator. But yes, We've addressed a number of issues, but I believe I've tried my level best as well to ask a number of pertinent questions. I believe it is about time for you guys to also ask your own questions with regards to what we've addressed so far. But however, there's one very important question that people need to know about Deon Woods. At some point you said that us as South Africans, where are you from?
I'm from South Africa. I was born in Hillbrow, Johannesburg. I've lived in Cape Town for about 15 years, and I've traveled a lot around the world and a lot around Africa, the 5 SADC countries. When I say we, I have a perspective where I don't necessarily recognize boundaries or races. I'm a human being, I'm an African, we are a family. Yes. And, you know, when we're talking about concerns, especially important social development concerns for Africa, I'm not referring to Swaziland necessarily. I'm referring to our African nation and our African priorities.
I see. All right. I believe my technicians here will help me now to just connect the phone so that we can have people calling in. The number is 7607 3020, 607 3020. But in the meantime, while they are still doing that, I believe Our Lady Sonto Mlangeni will be working on that. Well, this is a discourse that we've been dealing with on the issue of cannabis. We started with the jargon, and then we went on to touch on the 5 points that are very important, that people say it makes you mad, it's criminal, it's satanic, and then it will lose value. And that's just part of what we discuss. And this is for the benefit of the people who have just joined us. And then also there is an aspect that we also touched on, that there are medical helps, or rather medicinal formulas that can help in terms of the curing of cancer and other diseases. And then there's the recreational part, which I was concerned about, that it makes people mad. And then there's also the industrial part, which is also explained. But I believe it's about time for you people to then start asking questions, if you have. And if you people are not asking questions this time, it means marijuana or cannabis must be legalized in the Kingdom of Swaziland. The number is 7607 3020, 7607 3020. Well, I believe that His Majesty's wish is that every Swazi must be reached by 2022. So that is His Majesty's vision. And I believe also, from what you are saying, that can actually work for us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You know, on that point, if I may just add there, South Africa right now, I was listening to Deputy President Mariposa last night on the BBC talk in South Africa. And what South African economy right now is really focusing strongly on is what they call radical economical transformation. And he placed a lot of emphasis on this. It is now time for radical economical transformation, and there is no greater example to that than Cannabis for Africa. It is radical economical transformation.
But there's one bit that you haven't really answered.
Yes.
The issue of the balance of payments, in terms of how do you want us as a country to work this out? I believe people within government are watching right now.
We will integrate the system as effectively as we've done with alcohol, as we've done with other pharmaceuticals. We will address it in exactly the same way. It'll be a progressive development process. We will have investors and corporate concerns that will come into Swaziland and assist us to do that. There are many, fortunately, the committee is going to go to Israel. Israel is going to be in the forefront of medical cannabis. They're going to assist Swaziland.
Yes, okay.
And they're going to say, listen, let us come in there. Let us build a seminary for you. Bang, it's done. Now, how are we going to export? Most countries are legalizing. Everybody's going to legalize. This is indisputable. It's just a matter of time. So importing and exporting is not really going to be a big concern in the future. But even if it was, even if we couldn't export 1 even gram, we can find the uses in a market. We can make medicines here. We can make industrial products here. We can make everything that we need to out of cannabis right here and we can grow our own market and then export products, for example, like China does with hemp.
I see. All right, now I'm with you. I just want, it looks like people are agreeing with you because nobody seems to be phoning. Let me just address them in my language. Nebenkosi lelijale lapha lithi insangu ayibe semthethweni. Nabe shosi nithi nine anishaya inyalo la ku 607-3020. Kusho ukuthi niyavuma noma mhlambe lo gesi locimile abanye sirana ngegenerator. Futhi mhlawumbe ucimela lonke liveni angadi ngoba naku sekubinzile nyalo lapha inombolo ithi 607-7607-3020 7607-3020 is our number on Channel Swazi. You can actually be a part of this conversation so that I'll hear your views, and also you could help me with some of the questions that are necessary to ensure that we talk about this. So it means if I count now to 10, I've already started counting. I'm already on 5. I'm already on 8. I'm already on 10. It means everybody is agreeing that cannabis should be legalized in the Kingdom of Swaziland. Well, Parliament is currently dealing with it. Oh, somebody's calling.
Oh, we haven't asked all the questions.
Yes, all right. Sawubona. Hello? All right, it looks like he got cut. The number is 7607-3020. 7607-3020. You can ask your question, and then I'll be able to translate it into English. Hello? Hello? Asiyaphila njani wena Nkosi? Asiyaphila Nkosi, sivusela wena.
Emzala uqinisile lo muntu eIsrael lento illegal ne-documentation ephelele.
Ngeva ngikhuluma nabani mina mzala?
Angisuthi veta manje mzala nje ngicedile ndakushayela sowena.
Okay, ngiyakuva.
Ile-document enginemngani Monti mina wase-Israel. Nemngani Monti lento bayilegalize very soon because icurisha cancer, icurisha ilento, icurisha HIV.
Okay.
Manje ngeke ngithi bese ngiyadivesa ngiyakutshela nje ngeqiniso.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Nkosi. Ngiyabonga kakhulu. Yes, this is my cousin, my very much anonymous cousin, doesn't want to mention the name, but however, he says you are right, because this thing, cannabis is being legalized in Israel. He says it cures cancer and HIV, very importantly, HIV as well. Well, I've heard that... Yes.
You see, it boosts the immune system.
The immune system, yes. Actually, no, there's actually a cure for cancer from Israel. Do you know, are you aware of it?
Right.
Yeah.
There are several cures, in fact, that have been suppressed and people being killed.
Yeah.
Because cancer is such a huge industry. It's
Yes.
a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Let me take this one. Whenever someone says Sabona. Yebo sabona Nkosi, khuluma nawe bani kuphi?
Ukhuluma naDlamini.
Edlamini nokuphi umlameni?
Ukhuluma naDlamini la emoneni.
Dlamini emoneni, yebo Nkosi. Ufuna ushaya ngesingisi Nkosi?
Cha, ngashaya siswati.
Okay, shaya ngesiswati ke Nkosi.
Nangikhula kumina. Lesango lezivele denya. Abanye babanika isihlahla nilo ngokuzulu kakhona futhi vela kayidela. Ihlaka thengiswa.
Okay.
Ubunye besibonile. Bona ngubela lapha engani.
Yeah.
Ubende kade lapha ngayo isifo asthma. Watholakala ukuvulisa inyawo umsebenzi lapha ekwelapheni. Uma ingasetshenziswa kahle.
Yes. Siyabonga kakhulu. Siyabonga kakhulu Nkosi. Well, this is Mr. Dlamini from Muneni, that is in Manzini. He says when he grew up, it was legal to smoke dagga. Means he's a very old man. I don't know him. He says when he grew up, there was Mr. Ngubeni from Kanini who used to cure asthma using cannabis. Let me take this one. When I say I'm going to say hello?
Hello?
Yebo sawubona Nkosi. Yebo Nkosi ukhuluma babane?
Yebo Nkosi.
Qhubeka Nkosi ukhulume.
Nkosi. Ukhuluma nomfundisi Mnene Nkosi.
Yebo mfundisi Mnene.
Ngithi Nkosi. Oh, ngithi Nkosi lapho lokuswela ke le Nkosi. Ufuna ukuthi westart lapha kaNgwane. Nawubuka lama billions lashiswa njalo ngeminyaka emandla emaswati. Kubefunakala ukuthi sokwenziwe westart lesingahle sendelwe ukuthi angabe bekangasetshenziswa njani ngendlela lengasiyo le westabo. Njengoba nje sine nangabe mina ngikubuka nje nangu umnotho uhamba lomningi longaka ushisa minyaka yonke kepha kungaba khona yini indlela le-responsible yokulima lento lena abesebenza esitadi lamaswazi ukuthi kungenziwa njani.
Okay. Ngumfundisi Mnene wakuphi? Ushaka umfundisi Mnene?
Ukamanzini yenkosi.
Okay, ngiyabonga Madonsela. Qhubeka Madonsela.
Ushaya ukamanzini ba?
Yebo Madonsela.
Ngisho njalo nje bo. Ngiko lokhu kwami lengushoko mina. Ngithi asenziwe vele lesitadi emaswazi asakasasenze abone ukuthi angeke afanana yena lamanye emazwe emhlabeni ngoba phela si akusho ukuthi ataba yokuqala emaswazi kwenza njalo.
Yes, okay.
Yebo.
Okay. No, ngiyabonga kakhulu Mr. Mnene. Well, now, this one is taking a different shape now. Now, it's actually addressing your third part, that this could be satanic. Now, a member of the clergy, right, a reverend, a pastor, Pastor Gunene, says a study is needed because he's concerned about the banning of the dagga, of the cannabis by the police, I suppose, which is actually banning down the economy.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's what he's saying.
Absolutely.
He's still on the line, actually. Maybe he wants to hear from
That's
you.
satanic. Burning dagga is satanic.
That's satanic, eh?
Absolutely.
I see.
Yes.
Are you still there, Mr. Gunene? Usekhona baba Gunene? Well, yeah, bafundisi nebenkosi leli sebavumile. Well, members of the clergy, somebody has represented members of the clergy, or should I say pastors, because they're very much particular about the word clergy, you see, because I'm not very sure, because they'll quote for me about the jargon of the Bible that clergy is this, clergy is that, you know. I did mention at some point on the news, and they said, no, Qhawe, that's wrong. Clergy is something else, but well, it's all about the Bible and interpretation, you know. However, there's somebody else on the line. Siyabonga lehlelo sawubona. Yebo Nkosi, sikhuluma nabani kuphi?
Ukhuluma nababelikhele la emakhaya.
Babani?
Babelikhele la emakhaya.
Mhlambe Ndlunkulu. Yebo.
Ebabe mamba mangibuka mina iSwaziland iyasibambelela lo ingayibikala ekwana. Lolu kwayilo lulule South Africa nyalo angena South Africa abuya kuthenga la Swazi ajika engani. Abuya fast food. inemali abasakamise babuke masinyane ukuthi kwenziwa njani ngikumsike mina sesibonile ngigijima kakhulu ene bayakana labantu labayima lokho iyayifaka imali ngiyabonga babe mama
ngiyabonga
ngiyabonga
kakhulu. And then here we are, we're having Mr. Lukele from Mankayane who's saying that Swaziland is actually delaying herself. Instead, Swaziland should be expediting the laws of legalizing marijuana because South Africa is actually benefiting because people come in fast and move out fast. And even those people who actually sell the dacha are building nice houses. That's a literal translation of what he's just said.
Right now, what the government is doing, first of all, on a basic premise, before you start any debate in cannabis legalization or reform, is the basic fact is that we have a God-given right.
Let me take this
to consumer
just before he gets cut. Well, yeah, this thing is actually taking me by surprise. I've had two pastors now saying the same thing. This one is calling from Matsetsa. He's saying that government must expedite the legalization of the dacha because we're being delayed. This has a lot of money. That's basically what he's saying. So they actually, they actually agree with you. Well, let me take this one. Yebo sawubona Nkosi kuma babani kuphi?
Ngakamzawe mina
nawo. Yebo kakhulu Mzawe.
Mamba labantu okay babe mamba bayabona labantu ukuthi lesango lase illegalize.
Eqhubeka.
It's legalize. It doesn't lose evil, and yes now, it's illegal. But when it's illegal, it doesn't lose evil. Like it's over an India. Then the not of very without getting a fan. Are they aware, my
lord? Utapendvula. Mr. Woods, ngiyabonga kakhulu Mr. Mzawe. Siyabonga kakhulu. And this one is Mr. Mzawe from Vusweni in the Qhawe region, that is towards the border with Nelspruit.
Okay.
Yeah, he's actually saying, are you aware that legalizing cannabis will make it lose its value? It will be like maize.
Again, going back to the point that I did make, I'll reiterate that, is that first of all, cannabis is an industry worth hundreds of billions of dollars globally.
Yes.
Swaziland economical value of cannabis will be worth, through the future, hundreds of billions of rands. The demand is so extremely high right now, it cannot lose its value. But even still, if there is a concern for that, there will be a regulatory system in place that will regulate the prices right across the board. Licenses will be regulated right across the board. There will be a responsible handling. Swaziland is very capable of integrating such a system and integrating a very balanced and functional and integrous system. People should have more faith in Swaziland and the Swaziland government to do this.
Let me take this one. When I'm going to send Sawubona. Yebo Nkosi.
Njani baba?
Siyaphila sivusela wena sikhuluma nababani kuphi? Yebo Nkosi.
Babe mamba ngifuna benamba ngoba ngene ngwenyama siphelele ngwenyameni ngokuthi isangayini ngalo 2022 insawu befiki manje
Yeah.
abahlanze kunebantu abalima ukukhoba bayahla bayaphila
Yeah.
bekahoho kunezindaba kude labakulimayo inkosi kayisikhulu lesinisa sawubona kuphila naye singanoyishupa
Yebo.
sokusikindlala
Yebo, good.
insango nje ngilina ibesemthethweni siyilime sawukhona kuphila ithi lahla eveni nje labanye batayi banjini
Yebo.
wena kunene
Yes, this one now calls from the south. Actually, he's asking me to be an emissary to His Majesty the King, and says that I must ask His Majesty to legalize cannabis. So he says he actually has another point that by the time it loses value, people will be rich. That's the point that he's coming up with. So he says by 2022, most people will be rich, and we won't trouble him. Specifically, that's what he said. He says people will not be troubling him, because obviously a hungry man's an angry man. You understand what I'm saying? I'm sure that's
a very valid point. I haven't thought of that.
Yeah, that's what he's basically saying. And then also, in terms of losing the value, I'm just wondering, there's a part that I want to ask myself then, because right now it does not have an economic value because it's illegal, right?
Right.
Obviously, it's not part of the mainstream economy.
Yeah.
Now, how will it lose value? Because it's not legal.
Right.
Because it's not part of our GDP.
Exactly.
You see, it's not
will be.
part. Yeah.
But so no, it will be your GDP. But yeah, this is true. I mean, right now, if they're operating in the shadows underground, let me tell you,
they don't even bank the money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And let me tell you, I would say if I interviewed 400 people, and when I don't say interview, I mean when I dialogued with 400 people, I can tell you that at least 50% of those people were involved in the industry, either directly or indirectly.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
The industry is very big here, a lot bigger, and everybody has a stake in it already. We've all seen how many people have been raised and educated on dacha money, on cannabis money. You know what's absurd? Right now, we have many gogos in Swaziland for growing a plant. But people who grow cabbage are not in jail. This is absurd. This is immoral. This is satanic, man. How can we put our grannies in jail for dacha, man? It's despicable. Today they arrested a white one, and put him in jail. Because they caught him, I don't know the details, but I know he's a Milungu, dacha farmer. And they arrested him. I mean, something like, I don't know how many plants he had. And they, he's going to go to jail.
In Babane?
Yeah, no, in Mabane.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes, well, my researchers actually are confirming that a white person has also been arrested, as he says, that growing cannabis in the kingdom of Swaziland. Well, all the callers, I think we've had, how many callers so far? Maybe about 5 callers. All of them are saying the same thing. They are saying that let's do it pretty fast. Let's do it pretty fast. So, yeah, so everybody is with you. But however, there's this issue of propaganda, and which is obviously superseding all this, and then there's the issue of danger. You know what I'm saying? Because something like this, if I'm talking about the issue of HIV cure, are you aware that some people think that there won't be, an HIV cure will not be found easily because it's still making money for some people? The ARVs are making, now when it gets the cure, then obviously some people from various sectors within our society will lose their jobs. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's basically what happens. I don't know whether it's true, but I heard the director of Nature addressing that issue, although I was just passing by, so I didn't really hear what he was talking about what he was really saying about it, but I believe I'm going to bring him at some point to Channel Swazi just to find out about it, because I've heard and I've seen actually in Israel, just as this other man has said, that there is an HIV cure. I didn't even know that it was coming through, they were using cannabis as well. I only knew that it cures cancer, you know, but however, that's something that cannot really be confirmed. But I'm quite glad that
it can absolutely be confirmed.
Normally, under normal circumstances in such a show, you have discerning views of people who, maybe this one. Let's say maybe it should be 10 against 1. It was against you. Let me hear this one. When I say I'm Western and Sawbona. Sawbona Nkos.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because come on, everybody will be. Angeza Nkos. Oh, yebo kakhulu kinenza. Uthini kinenza?
I want to say that hello, are you with me?
I'm with you. Yes.
Thank you so much. It's a pity that we are talking with someone who has already made a research and is making a lot of facts. But being factual does not guarantee one truthful. The fact of the matter is, as Christians and as a Christian country, we actually abide by the teachings of the Word of God. I want to make one example here. He cited a fact of liquor and other examples. We as Christians not even supporting the sale of liquor, you know, and as a matter of fact, there are many negative factors that are absolutely for everybody who actually uses that. We have examples, we have relatives, we have friends who are very much in dire situations and circumstances by this mere thing called dacha, not only dacha itself. So if we have to legalize dacha just because we see this liquor thing and other things, let's also legalize killing each other, using these guns, knives. Let's also legalize stealing and robbing people, and then we will actually realize that the dacha can also be legalized. Otherwise, I want to say, regardless of the fact that it has the potential of making the country rich, but where are we taking our country at the end of the day? Let Swaziland be Swaziland, let Israel be Israel, let South Africa be South Africa, or any other country in the world. Let it remain illegal for the interest of our people. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. So let us not support wanting the country making a lot of money. We are about the kingdom of God here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes.
If I may, I'd really like to address that because that's
yes.
the most critical point.
Yes, very much.
First of all religious leaders and institutions have a responsibility above all else to be integrous, to be moral, and to tell the truth, to seek the truth, to follow the truth, and to live by the truth. Cannabis is no exception. Secondly, God created cannabis. God created cannabis for us to heal ourselves, to have food, to have clothing. We can make almost everything we need around ourselves because God created a plant like He did all of nature for our benefit, for your benefit, and for every Christian's benefit. Cannabis is as holy and more holy than many churches even, and many church buildings, for example. Cannabis is God's purest creation. It is one of the most magnificent creations of God, of our divine Creator. How can we say, if we legalize a plant now, that gives us the right to go kill people? I don't see the connection. If we should legalize, we are okay having a drink and a beer. We can get drunk out of our minds, destroy our families, drive home drunk, kill people, millions of deaths from alcohol, but don't legalize cannabis because that's satanic. It's absurd. You're not speaking from a point of any moral judgment. You're speaking from complete fallacy. You're speaking from the heresies. There is nothing anywhere in the Bible where it says cannabis is satanic. Where, in fact, there's many things being found in all religious doctrines to prove that cannabis has always, through thousands of years, been used for medical use. People actually suggest that Jesus used cannabis for his healings. Many spiritual healings that did this. We cannot separate God's creation and say that's not God's creation. Somehow it was an accident. Like we do in Africa as our cultural practices when we circumcise women. Why should we cut the clitoris off a woman? Because God didn't create that it didn't have a productive end to it? Why should a man be circumcised so that he can stay clean? It's insanity. This is madness. How can we cut a piece of our body and say God made a mistake? Did God make a mistake with cannabis? Did God go, oh my goodness, and now we must, what are we doing? We're defiling God's nature. We are defiling creation. We are abusing creation by having prohibition against nature. We are actually saying God is wrong for having made cannabis, and therefore God should go to jail. God is responsible. God is making dacha. We're just farming it. Put God in jail. He's responsible. I've actually seen this great poster once where it said, wanted, God for creating cannabis. Is he not the criminal? No, God is not a criminal, and we are not criminal for using God's creation. We have a right, a God-given natural human right to use cannabis for our advantage, for our benefit, and for our economical empowerment. You say that money is the root of all evil. I think the churches of Swaziland are one of the wealthiest organizations in Swaziland. How much millions on a Sunday afternoon gets poured into churches? Should we say that money is the root of all evil? So go give that money away. Give me some. Give our cause some. Let's revolutionize our country. Let's serve our community like the churches should be doing. How can we say money is the root of all evil? People get happy, they get educated, they grow on money. We can't say money is the root of all evil. You've got to start teaching spiritual principles according to the way Jesus did. Jesus taught spiritual principles. Jesus didn't teach out of a Bible. He didn't teach out of a church. In fact, the only time he was in a church is when he was turning over tables. We have to start teaching people principles on integrity, on truth, on functional information so that people can get the right information so that they can make the right choices. When we tell people something is satanic, we are satanic because that is propaganda. We are not telling them the truth. We are corrupting their minds. Like we have been corrupted against cannabis. Cannabis is evil. Cannabis is the root of all crime. This is propaganda. It's dishonest. It's deceptive. It's corruption, pure and simple. And we have got to start discerning, particularly in African religion, we have got to start discerning between what is integrity, what is morals, what is functional principles, and what is God and Satan, because we're getting very confused. We're getting very confused what is God's duty and what is Satan's duty, because, we're just doing it all. And we don't even know the difference anymore. We're calling cannabis evil, and we're calling weaponry good, because that's our security. Alcohol is okay because we can enjoy a great beer. I mean, we're getting confused. We need to find the truth, and the clergy of Swaziland and everywhere in the world has a responsibility, firstly, to be delivering integrous, functional, moral, and correct information to the people. I would definitely round this up and say to all of Swaziland, go do your homework. Go and do research. Go onto Google. Go and speak to people. Study for yourself the truth and facts. And when you have learned everything there needs to be learned and understood about cannabis and the industry and God's greatest gift to humanity, then come back and make a statement such as that one. Because that is corruption from a clergyman that we just heard. That is satanic.
You seem to be heated up by that. Mr. Kidinza actually says that being factual does not make one necessarily true. That's basically what he said when he started. Well, apparently, somebody has been listening to you carefully, and now, seems to be cutting. It looks like we don't have much time on air right now. We only have 1 minute. I believe it's about time for us to say goodbye. And thank you very much for coming to Channel Swazi. I hope how long will you be staying in the Kingdom of Swaziland? Because I believe this is a very important topic where we will have maybe some discerning views. I can see the way you are heated up now that I need somebody to heat you up. I actually tried to heat you up a bit, but I think I didn't do much heating. But Mr. Kiniza did the trick for me.
Well, if I'm not crucified or assassinated because of my plight, I hope to be in Swaziland for very, very many years to come. I hope to be at least partially established in Swaziland, and it would be my honor, truly my honor, sincerely, to assist Swaziland in making this most crucial process of development for African people, for Swaziland, because also what is so important that if Swaziland makes a functional choice and program right now for cannabis legalization, it will permeate through Africa, and we can finally feed our hungry Africans. We can finally alleviate poverty. This is the greatest golden opportunity we've ever had in Africa to finally actually deal with poverty effectively. Like Nelson Mandela, our most loving, beloved Papa, said to us that overcoming poverty is not an act of kindness, it's an act of justice. African nation right now needs to have critical economical transformation, because right now we have got to deal with the people in Swaziland who are starving to death. While others are making millions, others are starving. Apparently it's something like 50 to 60% of this country lives in poverty. We can fix that problem with cannabis. Now, should we say no to cannabis? Let those people rather starve to death? Because cannabis is evil, or does cannabis right now offer us the greatest opportunity? If we handle it respectfully and correctly, it offers us the greatest opportunity to reform African poverty, deprivation and destitution. Finally, we have a chance to make money functionally, correctly, and for the beneficiality of all humanity.
Well, this is Channel Swazi coming to you live, and the title of the program is People and Places. Yeah, this is with Deon Wood is heated up, but however, there's a point that you have touched here about being assassinated. You see, Swaziland is one country that is a very free country. No one will assassinate you for saying your views. I mean, you can basically say anything. You can actually walk in Swaziland anywhere. We always thought, up to until now, that the people who attack people are the ones who take cannabis, but I think it's the ones who abuse
alcohol and drugs.
Alcohol and drugs.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yes, but however, this is one of the most free countries ever in the whole world. Actually, it's very difficult. I've just arrived just today from the Republic of South Africa, and I've heard that in one of the taxi ranks in South Africa, it's very difficult now to walk, like at Wanda Street. Right now, it's not very safe for kids to actually walk there because of the crime that is there. So in Swaziland, you can walk anywhere. I mean, you can basically walk. You can basically say anything except anything that is derogatory. Obviously, if you start saying something derogatory that is against the law, then obviously you're likely to be in trouble.
Right.
It happens in America and it happens anywhere in the world. Absolutely. Yes. But
if I may inject there, I would also, if I have the time, to extend my deepest gratitude and appreciation and respect to all the Swazis that have come my way in the time that I've been here. It has been a very, very challenging task. I've done this completely independently. I've done it by every possible means to do it in the most functional way that I can, and every single Swazi that has met me, that I have met, that we've had a meeting with, that we've shared together, have been so generous, so kind, so supportive. And you know, if this law reform does change now and Swazi gold is legalized, every single one of you has played as a role in this process as I have, and I want to deeply thank each one of you.
Yes. Well, I thought maybe I was going to hear from members of the legal profession, learned friends. I wanted to hear the causans, the cause and connection, I mean, between legalizing dagga and criminalizing it. So, but unfortunately, we've only heard from members of the clergy, but that was good enough anyway. However, this therefore brings us to the end of the program tonight. I hope you'll join us again at the same time next week. Well, with us tonight on the show, on the backsides of the program, we have Sonto Mlangeni and Kainsile Mabuza. They are my researchers. They didn't ask a single question. It means the man next to me right here was very eloquent and straight to the point, because they are the people who are here to give me questions. But in this case, it means they are agreeing with whatever you're saying. It was all perfect. And also the director of proceedings is Mr. Letu Shabango on the other side. And technically, on the technical side, you have Mr. Peshe Asibia. Is the man in charge of everything that you see here, because currently we're running on generator. I believe he's the man who's been responsible for giving us the power. And then also we have Mr. Kalumi Samkacha. This is the man who's standing right next to us. He's on the camera's rear. And I'm sure he will have to get a joint. Just to make sure that he gets stronger.
I'm going to be honest with you as well.
Oh, he does, yeah. I'm told he does, actually.
I'm going to be honest with you as well, is
Yes.
that as this interview's gone on, I had a joint this morning. So I want to show you that I'm pretty sane and I'm pretty clear still.
Okay, unfortunately I didn't get a joint. And then we also have Mr. Simon Dladla, who's assisting, and Mr. Peshe Asibia on the technical side. And then I have Simpiwe Dlamini, who's on the transmission console. He's the guy who's actually mixing our pictures there. And then he's being assisted by Mr. Temikosi Dlamini. Both of them are on the mixing console. They are the ones who are putting us on what we call a chroma key. You see, what you should understand with Channel Swazi is we're using what we call a virtual studio. You see, the background is blue here, but these guys make it like look very nice. I mean, it looks like a very big studio. So those are the guys very responsible there. And then obviously we have Melissa Msweli. She's the one who's in charge of our programming. She is the one who's actually just told me now that she told me that 10 minutes was remaining. I'm sure I've gone over the 10 minutes because I didn't have a joint. Yes, and I believe I've mentioned basically everyone, and thank you very much for everyone who has called. And I believe that those who matter have heard our discourse. Those who have enjoyed being with us were saying that you're welcome to Channel Swazi, and unfortunately, it's very unfortunate to those who actually have been trampled upon. That would be very unfortunate, but however, you had all the opportunity to call us and say that it was kindly wrong what we were doing. But however, the ayes have it. It was 10 against 1. It was only Mr. Gininza was against it, and the man himself right here next to me got heated up. So I want to have at least 5 more Gininzas next time, so that we can see how far he gets heated up, so that yeah, sure. But however, my name is Qhawe Mamba, saying good night and God bless you.